A series of unfortunate events unfolded that day, but no one could have guessed what would happen next. It all started with a live stream from the most famous social media influencer in Egypt. Salma was about to show her followers around her new villa in the most luxurious resort on Egypt's north coast. It had been a very expensive purchase, and she was excited to flaunt it. What viewers did not know, however, was that Salma had invited 5 people that night under false pretenses. And they were not there to marvel at the villa. They were there to get rid of her. The group consisted of Salma's ex-husband, Hisham, her business partner, Nadia, her neighbor, Ola, the villa's interior designer, Riem, and finally, Salma's personal chef, Hamdi. By the time the live stream ended, the atmosphere in the villa had become heavy with secrets and lies. We will soon find out why each of them hated her and wanted her dead. The first was Hisham, Salma's ex-husband. Their divorce had been messy and bitter, with accusations of infidelity and deceit. Could he have taken revenge by ending her life? Then there was Nadia, Salma's business partner, who had recently discovered that Salma had been embezzling money from their shared account. He had always been quiet and reserved, but there had been hints of a darker side to him, a violent streak that had made Salma's friends uncomfortable. Could the seemingly harmless chef be capable of murder? On the floor near Salma's body, he found a small piece of fabric that did not belong, a scrap of material that matched the color and texture of the curtain in the living room. This tiny piece of evidence suggested that whoever had killed Salma had come from the living room, and the murder must have been quite a struggle because one of her rings was missing. Trust had been broken and jealousy had taken root. Could Nadia have snapped and lashed out? During the struggle, Hisham, Salma's ex-husband, had tried to convince the audience that everything was fine. Yet in the background, one of the curtains could be seen moving slightly, as if someone was hiding behind it. They had solved the case and brought justice to Salma. The detectives were stunned. Could Nadia be involved in the case more than they had imagined? What secrets was she hiding? However, as they prepared to arrest Hisham, Nadia arrived at the station, her face pale and eyes wide with fear. She had found Salma's missing ring and wanted to return it to the authorities. In a desperate attempt to protect her own interests, Nadia had confronted Salma. They staged the scene to look like an accident, hoping to avoid suspicion. But as the investigation progressed, Nadia's guilt became evident. Moreover, they discovered financial discrepancies that pointed towards Salma's deceitful nature. As the net tightened around them, Hisham and Nadia's alibis began to crumble. As the case drew to a close, the detectives felt a sense of closure, having brought justice to Salma, but the story does not end there. Greed and jealousy can corrupt even the closest of bonds, leading to unimaginable consequences. Their lies and deceptions unraveled, revealing the dark motives that had driven them to murder. With the pieces of the puzzle falling into place, it became clear that both Hisham and Nadia were responsible for Salma's death. During the argument, things escalated, and in a fit of rage, Nadia pushed Salma, causing her to fall and hit her head. And what secrets had been hidden beneath the surface of their seemingly perfect lives? Fearful and remorseful, Nadia tried to resuscitate Salma, but to her horror, there was no sign of life. They had not expected her to be involved in Salma's death. As they questioned her further, the truth began to unravel. But as she handed over the ring, her composure crumbled and she broke down in tears. This realization sent shock waves through the team. Could Hisham have been involved in Salma's murder? He revealed that he had indeed returned to the villa after the livestream and confronted Salma. What led her to take such a drastic step? And can the detectives uncover the full truth behind Salma's murder? Stay tuned to find out as we delve deeper into the twisted tale of betrayal, jealousy, and deceit. In a fit of rage, he had pushed her, causing her to hit her head on the floor. When he realized what had happened, he tried to revive her, but it was too late. Desperate to cover up his crime, he had dragged her body to the basement and staged the scene to look like an accident. Salma was found dead in the basement, her lifeless body lying amidst shattered glass and overturned furniture. Meanwhile, Nadia, Salma's business partner, couldn't stop thinking about how this case would affect her. If they found out she had anything to do with Salma's death, her reputation and freedom would be ruined. Suddenly, an idea struck her. She needed to find Salma's missing ring. She knew that if anyone found it, it would directly link them to the crime scene. So she snuck back into the villa and began searching frantically. The news spread like wildfire, sending shock waves through the community. Who could have done such a thing? He explained that he had left the villa shortly after the live stream and had spent the night alone. The detectives found this alibi plausible, but they still needed concrete proof to let him go. Just then, the forensics team arrived with a breakthrough. They had found traces of blood on the cuff of Hisham's shirt, a crucial piece of evidence that linked him directly to the crime scene. Was it one of the guests who had attended the party the night before? What had started as a night of celebration and revelry had transformed into a nightmare, leaving behind a trail of suspicion and sorrow. As the live stream began, the camera panned across the expansive living room, showcasing the intricate details and high-end finishes. But then suddenly, the screen went black and a scream echoed through the room. There had been whispers of rivalry and envy between them. Could Ola have harbored resentment that turned deadly? Riem, the interior designer, had poured her heart and soul into making Salma's villa a reality. But their relationship had soured after Salma had made numerous changes to the original plans, causing delays and extra expenses. Could Riem have acted out in a fit of anger? It was followed by a heavy thud, like the sound of a body hitting the floor. The guests froze, their faces pale with shock. No one knew what had happened. Was it an accident? Had someone attacked Salma? Or was this part of her latest stunt? The comments on the screen exploded with questions. Then a hand appeared, pushing the phone away from the edge of the table. It was Hisham, Salma's ex-husband. He looked nervous, his eyes darting around the room. The rest of the guests seemed equally shaken, their expressions a mixture of fear and disbelief. Hisham quickly composed himself and picked up the phone. "Don't worry," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "Everything's fine. Salma just needed some fresh air." But his explanation did little to quell the growing unease among the viewers. Many of them had been following Salma for years and knew something was wrong. As the minutes ticked by, the tension in the room grew thicker. Then, much to everyone's surprise, Hisham announced that they were going to continue the tour as planned. Perhaps it was best not to dwell on whatever had happened. So he began to speak again, trying to steer the conversation towards lighter topics. But the shadow of the incident loomed over them, casting a dark cloud over the rest of the live stream. As the evening wore on, more strange things happened, more screams and sudden movements that made the viewers question what was really going on. The next morning, when the sun rose, it brought with it a horrifying discovery. When the police arrived at the scene, they found 5 people standing outside the villa, each with their own alibis and stories to tell. Ola, Salma's neighbor, had always felt overshadowed by her more successful colleague. Finally, there was Hamdi, Salma's private chef, who had been with her for several years. As the investigation began, each guest became a suspect, their alibis scrutinized, and their motives examined. While inspecting the crime scene, the lead detective noticed some peculiar details. Suddenly, the detective remembered a detail from the live stream. Driven by this new lead, the detectives decided to bring Hisham back in for questioning. Back at the station, Hisham vehemently denied any involvement in Salma's death. Overwhelmed with a sense of dread, Hisham confessed to the murder. As the confession unfolded, relief washed over the investigators. In a moment of desperation, she blurted out, "I didn't mean to kill her." As the story reaches its climax, we are left on the edge of our seats, wondering how far Nadia's involvement goes. Meanwhile, back at the station, the detectives were shocked by Nadia's confession. It turned out that Nadia had discovered that Salma had been embezzling money from their business. In a panic, she called Hisham, Salma's ex-husband, and together they concocted a plan to cover up the crime. The detectives had found traces of a struggle in Salma's apartment, suggesting that there was more to the case than what met the eye. Hisham had acted out of personal vengeance, while Nadia had been driven by self-preservation. The once close friends and colleagues had betrayed one another, driven by greed and jealousy. The shocking revelation of Hisham and Nadia's involvement raises questions about the nature of their relationship with Salma. How deep did their betrayals run? As we reflect on this gripping tale of murder and deceit, we are left to ponder the complexities of human relationships. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and share. Your support means everything to us. Thanks for watching.